time here talking so she can decide. First of all, Susan, do you want all the panelists to stand up when they're giving their 5-minute talk, or would you like them to sit down and stay?
I would prefer them to sit because the camera is not as steady as it might be, but will you all be able to hear if they sit?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
If you would sit too.
I'm
The
sitting.
top of your head is being cut off.
Okay. We have a rented sound equipment here, so we're kind of not sure about how it works. And one thing we've discovered is that the microphones don't seem to have an on-off switch. They're always on. So the bubble wrap that you see is an attempt to keep them from making noise and interfering with the other person talking. Okay, I will begin. We have most of the panelists here. My name is Judy Knight. I'm the co-president of the Laramie League of Women Voters, and we are, as you can see, videotaping this to post on the library's website to allow people who are not able to come here tonight to be able to listen to this program and see us all. This is the second in a series of Know Your Community forums sponsored jointly by the Albany County Public Library and the Laramie League of Women Voters. And you know that both of us have no particular agenda here. We are simply dedicated to public information and a nonpartisan basis for everything that we are involved in. So this is not a political discussion, this is a community discussion. The format is going to be that everyone you see up here on the panel is going to speak for 5 minutes about the group that they represent. And they are not necessarily representing that group. They are community residents who are here to share information about what the group that they're involved with does, essentially, and has a stake in for the community of Laramie and Albany County. I think there are some handouts that have the names of all the panelists here. They are lined up the way they are listed on the form, so I'm not going to introduce each one individually. I'm going to let them do that as they sit to speak. And the format will be that after the 5 minutes that each person has had a chance to address here, there will be written questions from the audience, which I would like to ask. Let's see, who's a league member here who'd be willing to be a runner to collect? Oh, good, Robin Hill will collect. Hold your hand up, Robin. Okay. So she'll be the one to gather any of the questions and bring them to me. Prior to that, we'll have some chance for panelists to ask questions of each other as ideas come along. And then at least 8:30, we will stop the questioning part that's a whole group event and go to one-on-one questions that you may have that you want to address a particular person but don't want to take up everybody's time with. So there are tables around the room. I will say that there are some handouts already there on the various tables. WYDOT over there, the city, or county, excuse me, is here. The League of Women Voters has some books over on the table that are free if you would like to have one. It's called A Look at Wyoming Government, and tells you everything you'd like to know about how Wyoming operates. So, with no further ado, I would like to introduce Carolyn Smith, who will talk to us about the Albany County Transportation Authority.
Well, thank you, Judy, and good evening, everyone. As Judy mentioned, my name is Carolyn Smith, and I'm with the Albany County Transportation Authority. The Albany County Transportation Authority, otherwise known as ACTA, has been in existence since 2011 when the county commissioners passed a resolution to form the Transportation Authority. Our purpose is to manage public transportation in Laramie, in Albany County. We have quite a few entities involved with that purpose. For example, WYDOT, City of Laramie, Albany County, LCCC, UW, Epson Center, to name a few. And we do have a few board members here this evening that I'd like to introduce. We have Randy Hunt and Lindsay Shoemaker. So everyone sees them. As I mentioned, we are in our 3rd year of operation, and the route that we oversee is known as the Gem City Grand. You've probably seen the buses running up and down Grand Avenue. It starts on 1st Street and it goes all the way up to Walmart. We have seen steady growth, which I think is great. It's showing that public transportation is important. In our 1st year, we had 67,200 ridership. In our 2nd year, 88,600. And in our 3rd year, we're projected at 90,000 for rides. The route operates Monday through Friday from the times of 6:50 a.m. till 10 o'clock p.m. and on Saturday from 1 till 6 p.m. You may be wondering how we're doing with the Grand Avenue construction. We're doing very well. UW actually oversees the operation, and they've been able to move the main line that usually came down Grand there to Willett Street. So we're going east-west on Willett, cutting over on 22nd and 30th, and we're able to maintain the schedule. We're doing just fine. As far as some upcoming changes, just so you know, coming up in mid-May, few changes to stops, and I do have a map over here. If you can kind of see it, and if not, you can certainly look after we're through here. But there is a green stop, number 7. That stop is currently in a parking lot at Spanish Rock Apartments. That stop is going to be moving out to Joanna Bruner Drive. And whenever you have public transit, it's best if you can stay out of parking lots as much as possible. So that will be on the Joanna Bruner Drive, and it also, of course, serves Ivinson Memorial Hospital. Other changes, we have a new stop coming online, and that is stop number 8, and that is on McCullum and Worcester Drive, which is up by the Grease Monkey. And our 3rd addition is number 13, and that is at the housing development on Beach and Glacier. It's the housing development right there to the south of Walmart. So we're anticipating that, you know, those stops will also, of course, bring on some additional ridership. Projects being worked on as well, more of a planning effort, is our 5-year constrained planning document. And I'm going to stress that it is a planning document. It's a way for the board to prioritize the needs within the Laramie community in Albany County, and of course to look at the available funding and how we are going to meet those needs.
Carolyn, we're about out of 5 minutes time.
Okay, so that's what we're working on. Glad we're here.
And they can ask you more questions.
Okay.
Steve, if you would take the microphone.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. My name is Steve Cook with WYDOT, and I'm one of the resident engineers here. There's actually 2 engineering crews in Laramie, and Corey Kramer, sitting right up here in the front row, has the other crew. I'll go through just what we have coming up this summer. I'll speak to my stuff, and then I'll let Corey talk to the jobs that he's in charge of. One other note I just want to throw out there, basically WYDOT runs, I guess, a schedule called the STIP. It's the State Transportation Improvement Plan, which is a published document that is a 6-year document that keeps track of all of our construction projects for the future. So at any point you can actually go and look into the future and see what we're scheduled and at least trying to do. We're kind of estimating things based off of what we hope to get for money. But I'm not going to go that far out. I'd just like to maybe catch what the highlights of are this next construction season coming up. Currently, I'm sure you guys are all aware of the Grand Avenue project, which would be one that we're definitely in full swing on. It's coming along actually very well. The other one that I have that's just getting kicked off is another project down on US 287 from the state line up to the tie siding section. We're building additional divided 4-lane highway down there. That should be, the 2 new northbound lanes should be done this season, and then we'd rehab the other side, and it would be done in 15. I have some other, I guess less interesting projects that we do all the time. They're more maintenance type projects, crack sealing projects, epoxy striping, all of those kinds of things that just happen all the time. Nobody really pays a whole lot of attention compared to closing Grand Avenue. I don't know if you mind, Corey, if you'd maybe stand up and just give everybody the highlights of yours.
Sure. Right, come over here. Sorry. Yeah, so this next year we'll be working on putting together, well, currently we're putting together a job for Bill Nye. It's the extension off of Vista Drive, and it will be tying into the extended portion of Boulder near the rec center where the new high school will be built. That will give another access for the high school, and also future plans to extend out on Bill Nye to tie into the existing Bill Nye on the west side of town. So construction on that will be next year for 15, and that's actually a city project. WYDOT is in charge of it just because the city is utilizing urban system funds, which are federal dollars, and so that's basically a big reason why WYDOT steps in and oversees the project management and a large portion of the design. But we follow basically all of the design that the city requests. And after Bill Nye, we've got we're working on putting together a project right now that will extend off of Steve's project on 15th to 3rd Street, and that will be for 2017 at this point in our schedule. That won't have near the extensive work that Steve has on the grand portion with the concrete and the median island. That one there is more of a we're looking at different things. It's still a preliminary process, but it won't, like I said, it won't be near the extent that is going on the grand portion right now. But it will be a significant fix. Other than that, you know, there's like Steve said, it's kind of hard. We have the STIP projection which pushes us out, but really, as far as Steve and I are concerned, the only thing that we know of for sure is what's really going to happen this year and next year. Things have changed so often that it's kind of hard to tell everybody what's going to happen in 18 and beyond, because things change. Other than that, I don't know where we're at on time.
Harney Street?
Harney Street, that would be back on Steve. I'll give that back to Steve so he can speak about that.
Briefly, we're all just about out of time.
Harney Street is scheduled for 2016, potential letting in October of 15.
Okay. And Tim Sullivan, guess what?
I apologize to everybody for coming in late. I just walked out of the office, so as far as the county road and bridge,
Hold the microphones.
okay. As far as the county road and bridge, we've resurfaced several roads. I think you're all, anybody that cycles, I see a few people out there, and I saw some bicycles out front. We did Soldier Springs Road this fall, and then 2 years ago, we did 9th Street up Rogers Canyon. And then as far as what we're doing right now, we did we bought some gravel pits, which we've never had before, thanks to the state government. They gave us some money through consensus block grant. We're using that, so we will have gravel pits. We're gonna have staging area north as well as south, and so we'll start graveling roads. But what we're doing right now, it's just kind of catch up in road and bridge. They'll always tell you that when we plow the snow, it's just, we go out and they all work and they work hard on those roads, but you plow them and there's nothing to show for it.
But after the fires 2 years ago, what we had up in Fletcher Park and up in northern Albany County, as well as out here in Centennial, once the fires go through and then we had rains, it washes out all the culverts, all the roads. And so what we're in the process right now is going back in and cleaning out all the culverts and rebuilding all the roads. And so that's going to be our ongoing project for the next 2 or 3 years, I'm sure, with Road and Bridge. And that's about all.
How is Road and Bridge organized? Who's the manager? Or,
Oh.
Go ahead.
Mike Osterman is the superintendent out there. He's been there for 30, I want to say 35 or 36 years. And he's quite a guy. He's a great guy. And we've got a great crew out there. And they work for the commissioners. They are a separate department. And they're like the planning office or the grants office. And we've got several of them that work just straight for the county commissioners. And they've got a great crew and we've got great equipment. The one thing about the state of Wyoming and Albany County and the city, we can get all the money we want from the state for capital improvements or for big capital expenditures. So we've got some really cool equipment. And if you ever get a chance to go out on Road and Bridge and look at our new road graders, they are just the most amazing things. They all run by a joystick and they look like you're stepping into a 747 when you get into the cab. Steve can attest. Things have changed a lot since you had to go out there and crank them up by hand and lower them and adjust them.
It's a guy thing.
It is, it's big toys and they're really cool toys.
Okay, I think you can unplug that. All right, can you hear me now on this microphone? Okay, we're going to pass it over to Wes Bressler, who's the vice chair of the airport board. You explain it.
Thank you, Judy. Laramie Regional Airport is a facility that will provide daily commercial air service to Denver. It provides a facility for the UW research, meteorological research, and for their planes, and provides service to business and private aircraft. I'm vice chair for the Laramie Regional Airport Board, and with us tonight we have our chairman, George Krell, and the airport manager, Jack Skinner, and airport board member, Jerry Myers. One of the things that you might understand but not really fully comprehend, with the airport board, we get joint funding from both the city and the county. That funding amounts this year to about 5% of our total annual budget. Half of what they give us is used for administrative operation, and the other half is used to to match state and federal grants and loans. And that's where we get the majority of our funding, because this year our budget is somewhere around $3.7 million. The key to funding an operation like we have really rests heavily with the federal government in the Federal Aviation Administration, or FAA, and the Wyoming Aeronautics Commission, which also provide grants and loans but they require a match. And that's where what we have seen with what Congress does for rural airports nationwide is provides essential air service monies to airlines to subsidize their service to rural communities. There's two in Wyoming, Laramie and Warren. Right, Jack? Okay. This EAS money is constrained by the amount of boardings that you can get per year from through your system. And if you fall below a 10,000 boarding benchmark, what happens is you lose from $1 million availability for your capital improvements and maintenance down to $150,000. So that puts a real burden on the local communities for upkeep of the airport. A couple of years ago, we went to bid for this service, this regional service, and what happened was there was a tremendous effort by the board to bring the community and members of the flying community along to support us in a request to change air carriers because we thought we were suffering in the service level. And what happened is with the multiple letters that were sent out by the local government, businesses, UW, WYDOT, we were able to get the FAA to consider a higher bid for service and then bring in what is now SkyWest Airlines. SkyWest is a regional United carrier, United Express. So if you want to get any round trip from Laramie to any place that United flies, you can sometimes save some money if you do your research at united.com. Just a little plug there for our service, what we have been able to do in this last year. We were able to exceed that 10,000 boarding benchmark, and that was the first time we've been able to do that in 5 years. Now, in addition to what we've been doing, we're in the process of trying to encourage SkyWest to add another afternoon flight to make departures from Laramie more convenient for passengers. Also, we've had a beautification project underway for the last couple of years, since 2008, I guess. The parking lot has been paved. It's much nicer to park out there where you don't have to fight the mud puddle and the snow drifts. It's got pavement, drainage, lighting, landscaping. In addition to that, what we've got also going is, as you may have read in the, March 21st, funding to the Gateway article from the Boomerang, where we have bid out total replacement of our general aviation terminal that serves the flying public.
Wes, we're about out of time.
Okay, and I'll wrap that up with, as you noticed in the article, we're over budget. We're looking for funding. We've got funding coming from multiple sources, UW, from private donors, from the Wyoming Aeronautics Commission, and also from, who else, Jack?
County.
City and county, of course, our annual funders. And with that, I'll turn it to Judy.
Okay, and I'll pass it on to Jerry Schmidt, who is the Vice Chair of Laramie Main Street.
Thank you, Judy. Well, Laramie Main Street Alliance is part of a nationwide program called Main Street, which works to preserve and revitalize historic downtowns. There's about 2,000 cities that have a Main Street program in them, from what I understand. Our mission here in Laramie is the Laramie Main Street strives to preserve historic downtown Laramie while enhancing its economic and social vitality. The way we're organized is we have a board and 4 committees, and the 4 committees represent the 4 points of Main Street, and you'll see this in all the Main Street programs throughout the nation. The 4 points are economic restructuring, promotion, design, and organization, organized to get things done. We have 3 other people besides me that are on our board here tonight. Margaret Brown is in the back. She's a recent president, and Bill Gribb is our head of our design committee, and Randy Hutt is also on our board as the city liaison. And there's probably about 8 or 9 other people on the board total. One of the reasons I'm a volunteer. This is a nonprofit organization. We have one professional, Trey Sherwood. She's in Casper attending training right now, and there are probably 80 or 90 volunteers that work on the different committees and projects and things like that we have going on. One of the reasons I'm motivated to work on Main Street is because I feel like we get things done. And one of the things that I was involved in when I first started with this program was raising funds and working to get the lights restored on the historic Garfield Bridge. That cost about $60,000, and it was, I thought, a pretty good accomplishment. And then the next thing was designing and constructing the First Street Plaza, which we raised the funds for that. That was nearly $300,000. We don't have a sugar daddy who takes care of us for funds. We have partners. The city is a great partner. The university is a partner. Downtown Laramie Business Association is a partner. And we have numerous other businesses throughout the community who support us financially. A lot of our projects, the funding for most of our projects comes through grant application and competition and that kind of thing. And recently, though, we used a Kickstarter. That's a new technique I'd never heard of more than 3 or 4 months ago. We raised $20,000 to expand our mural program, and I'll get back to that in a second. Well, we also have a development plan that we did in conjunction with the city. It was completed in 2012. That sort of provides the guide and the framework for how we choose our priorities and how we work toward making more improvements in the downtown. And along this line that we have for this forum tonight about beautification and transportation are some of our higher priorities, and that's to improve the connection between downtown and the rest of the community. 4 pedestrians, 4 bikes, 4 automobiles, and 4 buses. So everything that Carol Smith wants to do with the county transit authority, we're in favor of. And the more expands, and we're looking forward to more connection in the downtown area with that. So anyway, with the bikes, we're working with the city and other city committees to designate bike lane corridors that go to and from the downtown, and there's some progress being made along those lines. We have a new bike rack system I'll talk about here in a little bit more in a minute for the whole downtown area. Right now we have a group of citizens from throughout the community, not just downtown, who are working to develop a plan to create a better design for the 3rd Street corridor for probably about a 5 or 6 or 7 block segment there that passes downtown from a little bit north of University all the way south to maybe Custer. That right now is serves sort of as a pedestrian barrier and difficult for shoppers, moving back and forth across there. It's also a highway, and so what we're working on is a plan that we can put together with and work with WYDOT to. While WYDOT's accomplishing their goals, we can also maybe improve some things for pedestrian use and retail operations along that corridor and make it less of a barrier for people who go in the downtown area. In the area of beautification, the mural program, we have 8 murals down there. There's an auto tour. You can take a cell phone and find out about what the background is on each one of the murals. And with that Kickstarter and the money there, we have a crew of artists that we're working with to probably be another 5 or 6 or 7 more murals added to the downtown area. And the bike racks, we have a plan for over 100 new bike racks to go down there. Bike racks we're not buying, we're manufacturing locally. They're artfully designed to reflect the history and culture of our community. There's 4 themes. Western cowboy, wildlife, recreation, and railroad. And so there's 20 different designs that fall within those themes. And so there's 3 or 4 or 5 of those racks up now, and quite a few more that are coming, and so that'll be an added beautification enhancement to the downtown. We have a fund to expand and improve the Christmas light system in the downtown area. So we have lots of other things going, working in Main Street with economic restructuring, design's kind of like also working on an iceberg. There's a lot of stuff that goes on underneath the surface that benefits the town in the long run and in a deeper, broader way you don't always see when you go down the street. But I'll look forward to the questions and discussion we'll have later.
And Paul, now it's your turn. You could use 2 microphones. There you go.
Got this one. Thanks, Judy. Paul Kunkel, University of Wyoming Transit, otherwise known as UWYO Roundup. We provide transportation and parking options for the university as well as the Laramie community. We're the 2nd largest transit operator in Wyoming. Number 1 is Jackson. We're trying to reach them hopefully in the next few years. We're a fast-growing operation. Our ridership has grown 92% since 2003. So each and every year we're getting new riders, so that's a great thing. We operate 2 park and ride. Those are our cash cows, I guess you could call them, for ridership. We have a park and ride out at 30th and Willett, as well as 15th and Spring Creek. We also have 2 fixed route shuttles, the Campus Shuttle and the Classroom Express. They operate on the perimeters of campus, student housing, main classroom areas of campus, student union. We also operate paratransit for the university as well as the city of Laramie. So paratransit, for those of you that aren't aware, is a door-to-door demand response service that serves elderly, disabled, folks either with permanent or temporary disabilities, or just mobility impaired in general. So very popular service, we run that. Epson Center is also another provider for paratransit in Laramie. Finally, Safe Ride and Night Owl, 2 more demand response services that we have. Safe Ride operates on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, late nights, 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. Designed to get people, mainly college students, but it is open to the general public. It is federally funded service. Designed to get people home from downtown, other areas of campus, other areas of Laramie, and take them to their homes as safely as possible. So between all the services, our ridership is about 670,000 people a year. So again, like I said, growing fast. Another thing we do, Carolyn Smith mentioned ACTA. We are the operator for ACTA, the University of Wyoming.
Explain the acronym.
ACTA, Albany County Transportation Authority. Yep, so we operate the Gem City grant for them. As Carolyn said, we're projecting 95,000 rides for this fiscal year that we're in right now. We run 11 buses during the peak hours, and we average 3,500 rides a day, which is pretty good for university the size of University of Wyoming in a city the size of Laramie. Total fleet size, not including the ACTA buses, are 30 vehicles. We put on about 450,000 miles a year on our buses. We also do charter service. We have in-town charters. We have a smaller bus that we use for that, for university-related events. And then we have a 45-foot coach bus that you may have seen rolling around town. It's got some fancy graphics on the side. It's a really fancy MCI bus. 45-foot long, and that travels throughout the state of Wyoming, also across the country. We use it especially this time of year to go to various, mainly fine arts events for the university. The way we're funded largely by federal grants, as well as student transportation fees, and I also manage the parking on campus as well. So we support the transit with the parking fees on campus. We have about 85 employees. 32 of those employees are benefited staff members. So we are a large operation. The future, this fall, will be actually doing away with the Campus Shuttle and Classroom Express and replacing them with one fixed route that goes from east to west, not in a loop, but back and forth between the classroom building on the west side and then as far as Spanish Walk Apartments, I guess, would be on the east side. The design is to simplify the fixed route service, more frequent service. The service will be every 10 minutes at every stop. at any stop on campus, you'll be able to go either east or west. You won't have to go around in the circle anymore. So we're really excited about getting that started this fall. It will also serve the new Gateway Center that will be opening in October. That's at 22nd and Grant. I'm sure you've all seen it going up. It's huge.
Yes, we noticed.
You noticed, good. Also, I just wanted to mention we have a growing demand for transit on the northwest part of campus. We have the STEM building going up right now at 10th and Lewis. We have a new engineering building on the way. We have the new Berry building that has reached completion. These buildings are being built and not a lot of parking around them. So we're looking at introducing a new stop at the engineering building to serve that side of campus. We're really, I think, going to see an increase in the amount of transit we're seeing on that side of campus with the lack of parking. So with that, look forward to questions later. I'll pass it back off to Judy.
Okay, and Nancy, you've got your own microphone.
My very own. I'm Nancy Sindelar, I'm chair of the Traffic Commission. We're a 7-member volunteer board. We meet the second Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock in the morning. We're dedicated. It's in the old Carnegie building, which used to be the library, before we had this beautiful place down the street down here. We're totally voluntary. There's no compensation at all, and we're also very careful to make sure that we never have a conflict of interest. The process, what we're doing is this little tiny piece of Laramie's democracy. Anything that the city does that requires an expenditure of funds has to be approved by city council. The issues the Traffic Commission looks at, handicap parking, changing crosswalks, changing stop signs, changing the street, are we gonna have a left turn lane or are we gonna not have a left turn lane, that kind of thing. They're highly technical, and we rely on the city engineer's office and the community office. But it takes a lot of time to work those things out and figure what's the best. There's a book twice the size of this government book with all the standards in it, and there's not an intersection in the world that is exactly to the standards. So you always have to have that human bit in there, and that's what we do, is we look at every little change to the traffic patterns in Laramie, and we try to we work with the engineering people and try to find the best way to do it for Laramie. We make recommendations, and then it goes before city council, and they have to approve it. We do pretty well. They tend to trust us. We have a liaison that comes from city council that sits with us. Randy Hunt is a city employee, and he's great. He comes and sits with us. Another traffic commissioner is here, Harold Colby, one of our newest members. He's an expert on streets. We have an instructor that teaches engineering. We have a person that worked with the school district and knows safe routes to school for the school children, where to put crosswalks so the kids get there safely. I'm a bicyclist, so whenever I'm looking at an intersection, I go by bicycle through it to see the safest way to go through and the best way for people to move through. So we have a lot of nice, different points of view. And I'm always amazed at meetings that people come up with ideas. I didn't think of that. And I'll come up with something and they didn't think of that. And so it works pretty well as an advisory board to city council. If you want to, say, change a stop sign or a crosswalk or the timing of a traffic light, unless it's a state traffic light, which would be Grand or Third, or right now the Clark Street Bridge in West Snowy Ridge Road. Those belong to the state. But if it's an in-town one and you want to say it needs to go longer in my direction because I can't get across in time, you submit a request for the city. I'm going to use handicap parking as an example. For if you're disabled or elderly and you need to park in front of your house because you can't travel a long distance walking. You submit a form. We will look at it and, yeah, okay, we think that's good, and then we'll put it before city council, and then they put up one of those posts with a sign that says, reserved for license number such and such, Or you can get a general reserved if the person themselves doesn't drive, but they have caregivers coming constantly, coming and going, and they need a place. And then we do a general one for that. That's the process. I think I'm open for questions as soon as we can get things moving along.
Then give the mic to Dewey and we'll move right on.
Hi, my name is Dewey Gallegos. I'm here to represent the cycling community, and I'm a member of 3 distinct entities that I think help me keep my finger on the pulse of cycling and what we're looking for as far as community and beauty and traffic and transportation and all this goes. I'm the owner of the Pedal House, so as a business owner, I have all the things that come with it, but our goals as the Pedal House in general, beyond the obvious, are cycling advocacy. We really focus a lot on the things that make cycling safer and better for everyone. Youth cycling, we do a lot of coaching and looking to what we can do to benefit youth cycling just in general. Education just in general as well. We do a lot of coaching and not just stuff in town, but on the trails out, teaching kids how to ride safely. So those are important things to us. And it crosses over to the other one. As the Pedal House, we've decided to join BikeNet because we really appreciate what they do in general for cycling in the community. They, just off their website, if you read it, it's working to make Laramie bike friendly. That's the first thing you read on their site, and it's the first thing that really drew us in as a business to kind of support this organization. They also support a lot of races around Laramie. They provide the insurance for a lot of the races, and the membership comes with a lot of benefits around town, 10% off here, that, whatever. So you guys should join BikeNet. So, and then the last thing that I represent really is the Laramie Enduro. It's a local race, kind of a long, big deal race that's been around here for a long time, and people come from all over the country to race in it. And I'm on the board for community outreach, and a lot of those goals that I just mentioned overlap into what the community outreach wants to do. Youth advocacy, safe riding in town. We believe if we can get safe routes to school, just like Nancy was talking about, we just talked about like safe routes to school being an avenue for cyclists that fall in love with what would support the race later on. So looking at what kids do in general on bikes and whatever the Enduro can do to help that. And then they have a summit coming up to kind of look at what the direction of cycling in Wyoming should look like what we as groups can do to get together to make it more beautiful for one, for everybody, but safe in the community and something that is sustainable. So those 3 things, those 3 groups really in my mind overlap enough that's kind of what I'm here to represent is cycling culture and community, but and especially with my personal stake in it, it means a lot to me. So.
Does anyone have questions, written questions?
I'm going to ask a question for anyone on the panel to answer. We couldn't find anybody to represent pedestrians. How safe do you think Laramie is for pedestrians? Do we have traffic lights in the right places? And anyone want to tackle that?
3rd and Grand. 3rd and Grand is dangerous.
You agree?
I agree.
Okay. Okay. We'll maybe see if anybody else in the audience has a thought about that in a minute. But are there any other questions that panelists have for each other? Have we talked about all the things that you would like to have brought up anyway? Any? No? Okay, well, we'll go to questions from the audience. Our first one is for Nancy, and it says, would the Traffic Commission be able to change the timing of the walk lights at 13th and Grand? Where are the forms to request a change?
Actually, 13th and Grand belongs to the state. Grand Avenue is the part of the highway. We work with the state, and they will, I think I would talk to the state engineers on that first.
Steve? Sounds like you.
Passing the buck.
Or, Carrie?
I do know that under the project that I'm currently putting together for 17, that the 13th and Grand Signal, right now we're looking at possibly taking it out and putting a hawk system in, which is mainly just a crosswalk system with mast arms that is more visible for traffic. So we're doing traffic counts in that area right now and seeing the pedestrian counts and seeing if it's actually more of an intersection that would be utilized or necessary for pedestrians versus the traffic. And a lot of the reason of that too is because of university with no park, there's eliminated parking in Prexy's pasture, and so that's one thing that we're doing right now is we're doing a study at that particular intersection to see how to best handle
Okay.
for our project in the future.
I think I have a follow-up question here. I'm not sure. Is STIP available online?
Yeah, actually, I believe it is. It's on our, if you go to our website, you can find that listed.
And the website is WYDOT.com or what? No.
Gov.
.gov.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd have a hard time giving the League of Women Voters website address too. Okay, the next question is for Carolyn. What is the status of West Laramie and or North Side routes?
Well, as I mentioned, the 5-year constraint plan addresses those in the plans. Right now, we simply don't have the funding, and the funding needs to be there for any type of expansion like that. It is a 5-year plan. I don't know if anybody saw the boomerang in the last couple of weeks, but they did have a poll online, and the results of that, there were 329 votes, total votes, but 42% of the respondents felt that North and West Laramie are equally important. And yes, they are definitely on our radar. It's a matter of when.
Okay. Our next question, I think this is also for WYDOT, but maybe Nancy also, and that is, what is the schedule for the viaduct? And I assume they're talking about the new Harney Street, but you might also address what happens with Clark Street.
As I said before, it's in the fiscal year 2016 STIP to be let the contract. So, at this point, we're just hoping that we get it let at some point during that construction season. I can't really come up with a construction schedule yet on it. It's just too preliminary, but it's going to be at least a year to build the new structure, and then the existing Clark Street will come down after traffic is using the new one.
Okay. The next question is for Nancy. It has to do with a request that you restate when the Traffic Commission meets and when the next when the next meeting will be. And do you review Traffic Commission studies for developments? I assume that's new developments in town. And a third part.
Get one at a time.
Oh, okay.
The Traffic Commission meets on the second Thursday of the month at 7 o'clock in the morning. There is some public notice, I believe, in the legal section of the Boomerang. Our agenda for the upcoming meeting is online at the city's website. I think it's under the Boards and Commission tab. And then minutes of the meetings are put on the website, and you can actually listen. They vocally record our meetings, and you can listen. You do better to read the minutes. But you can listen to everything we discussed and how we discussed it and what we looked at. And okay, question.
So the next question was new developments. Are there traffic studies before development, new roads go in?
I believe there are, but since the commission mostly works with roads that already exist, we more react than act. We don't design. That's engineering, and that's not us. That would be the city engineer would look and say, you need to make your streets this width, or you need to build them this way, you need to put this many fire hydrants in. That's all taken care of, I believe, by the city. If after the development is built and they say, you know, we really should have put a stop sign here because we've got conflicts, then that would come before the commission.
Then there is a third part to this question, and that is, where do you get the forms to request that stop sign?
The forms are available online on the city's website. You can also get them at City Hall. If you go up to the lady that you pay your water bill with and ask her, I would like a form to put in for, to make a change through the traffic commission of a stop sign, whatever it is you want to do, she will give you a copy of the form.
Okay, and our next question is for Wes, and that is, with the new terminal, will the airport finally be able to offer simple food service?
Getting food service at the airport, anything other than out of a vending machine, is a real challenge, primarily because we're so far from any generator of traffic that would make it really cost effective. So what we're looking at is staying with vending machines, but we will be looking at a broader selection in the vending machines than is available now.
Okay, no hot dogs? Okay, this question is for Steve Cook. Will the new Harney Street Viaduct have nice big bike lanes and pedestrian walkways?
The lanes going over, it won't have an actual bike lane going over. There will be a 10-foot wide path on the south side and a 5-foot sidewalk on the north side. The actual will be 4 11-foot lanes with 4-foot shoulders on the roadway.
So pedestrians and bikes will mix in both of those?
In the multi-use path, on the 10-foot multi-use path.
Okay, and the 5-foot one will just be pedestrians?
It wouldn't be signed that way, but that would be the intent.
Okay, everybody with a bike, understand intent. Okay, the next question is also for WYDOT, and that is, do you have any idea about whether your neighbor to the south, Colorado Department of Highways, if they're planning to widen their part of 2?
All of the information that we have is that they don't have plans to do any widening on 287 into Colorado.
So we need to lobby them? So, and what will have any influence with Colorado now that they're rolling in money?
Yeah, I don't really know. We've had some of the representatives come up here for some of the public meetings and when we were doing the environmental assessment for those projects down there, and we didn't really get any indication from them other than they're spending most of their money down in that I-25 corridor.
Okay. For Gem City Bus, what's the cost to ride the bus?
Well, at this time, there is no charge to hop on the bus. In part, the system is supported by student fees, both LCCC fees and student fees from UW. So at this point, we haven't been charging the general rider. Could that change in the future? Yes. Trying to decide, does it warrant it? I mean, we don't really know that we would make that much, and with the overhead associated with fare collection, etc., just not too sure if we want to go that route and also see a drop in ridership. But we do have student fees that support the system.
Carolyn, keep the microphone, because the next question is, would you consider putting bike carriers on the buses?
Yes, as a matter of fact, and I'm looking at Paul.
We have some on order, yes.
They are on order, and we will have, I don't know if they're gonna be on every bus, but they will be on a few at least.
Okay. Were there any more questions from the audience? We have Robin over here, ready to take your questions. How about panelists? Have ideas come up that you'd like to address each other about?
My question's for my neighbor here, Jerry. A couple years ago, Main Street had plans to put a bus shelter near the First Street Plaza for ACTA. I was wondering if we're still moving along with those plans, or what the current status is of putting a bus shelter in.
It's something we'd like to do, but when a mill levy didn't pass, it made sort of the plans and designs a little bit more ambiguous, so we kind of have it on hold until we see how definite the stop is going to be down there and that kind of thing. We would like to have one down there not far from the First Street Plaza.
Thank you.
Well, I have a general question about that. Are bus shelters the responsibility of ACTA, or anyone who cares to contribute money? For example, could there be one at the Civic Center? And who would pay for it, and how would that come about?
Did you all hear the question? You did? Okay.
A bus shelter is considered a capital purchase, just like a replacement of a bus, and our buses are aging, etc. But with that being said, yes, we would welcome any contributions to ACTA for the purchase of bus shelters, etc.
And does ACTA decide the best places for them to go?
Yeah, I mean, I would guess that, if it's in a protected area or something, or there's a building right by where people are able to stand and see the bus, that, may not be the best place versus somewhere that's out more exposed. But that being said, I mean, no, I would say that if Identity said, no, we really want to help out and, put the shelter there, we would certainly work with you.
Okay, go ahead.
I have a question for the WYDOT guys. I mentioned that one of the things that we have a committee kind of working on is that segment of 3rd Street that goes past the main part of the downtown, and we're trying to figure out how we can improve that area in there for the sake of pedestrians, while at the same time we recognize it's a highway and there's highway parameters. I'm just wondering if either one of you fellows, if you weren't working for WYDOT, but you were working for Main Street, and the sidewalk was only 10 feet wide, and you have a highway there, do you have any ideas, out-of-the-box ideas that we could be talking to ourselves about that could maybe be put into a plan that would work with and not be too cramp too much what we need to do as a highway? I mean, in a way, I'd like to just rip everything out from one storefront, clear across to the other storefront, and start over with, sidewalk widths and designs, and if there's planters or barriers you could put in there, and then have, whatever the lanes you need for the highway. But we have what we have, and I guess we could change that. But I just wondered if you ever thought about that angle.
One thing that isn't very popular, but you'd gain a lot of room without the parking.
And I wouldn't have any trouble with that if we could widen the sidewalk, split the difference with you.
Yeah, I mean, those are definitely things to bring up. Are you guys who are you working with WYDOT right now? Is it just at the district engineers level, or?
Well, right now, we're trying to get our act together and present sort of a united, sort of a plan, a distinct plan for you to consider, for the city to consider. And that's kind of what we're working on now. We don't want to meet with you and have 8 ideas and nothing's been put together. So we're trying to come to some kind of a 1 or 2 plan kind of you know, a plan with maybe an alternative, you know, for you to look at and that kind of thing. So we're looking for, I mean, the sidewalk's not very wide, it's 10 or 12 feet. There's already things on it. Then right there you have parking, and then you have the highway traffic, and then you have the scariest intersection, 3rd and Grand. I've heard that 100 times. So anyway, we're trying to, you know, find solutions that help the pedestrian activity down there, is at the same time don't interfere with what you need to have for highway going through a town like ours.
Jerry,
So anyway,
let's ask the audience. How many of you, raise your hand, if you would be willing to have parking eliminated on the downtown area of 3rd Street? How many would not be willing? All right, you're in the minority. But it sounds like this is a possibility to consider. Jerry?
yeah, one of my ideas on that is if we eliminate the parking, just split the parking spaces a little bit, but also try to find some pocket parking along that same stretch, because you may not all be raising your hands in January when you're trying to get to one of the restaurants. The closest parking is 3 or 4 blocks away. So I'd like to see, you know, some parking along the way, but off the curb. I agree too. I'd like to see it taken off the curb, but others parking areas along the way there.
Nancy would like to have...
It's not that I'm for or against the parking. I see the parking as a buffer between the traffic and the pedestrians. So that pedestrians, because I use that intersection a lot every week. I'm down there every Friday. And the cars parked there make like a protective barrier as you're walking on the sidewalk. So whether it's parking or something else. Now this is also, I must say, my personal opinion, this is not traffic commission, is if having a barrier there between the traffic and where the people are walking gives a sense of security. So it's not specifically have parking or not have parking, it's have a barrier.
Any further thoughts about barriers? Okay. I have one question that's kind of for me, which is, how come you didn't invite a city council member to be part of this forum tonight? And I will say that that's probably inspired in part because Tim Sullivan is here representing not just the county commissioners, but the Road and Bridge Department of the county, because Mr. Osterman is in Casper right now at a meeting of somebody.
Well,
Some group.
Wasters.
What?
It's called Wasters. I don't know what the acronym is.
Okay. Apparently he got it through the county commissioners that it was okay for him to go to this meeting and miss our forum here tonight. So, and really our city representative is Nancy, who is part of the City Traffic Commission. We have a complaint here. This is partly WYDOT, maybe partly city, and that is that a person who lives at 12th and Grand, trying to get to 3rd and Garfield by car requires stopping for 8 stop signs. Is this kind of out of our control, or can anything be done about it? WYDOT, city, 8 stop signs? No? We need them? You all agree?
Yeah, I guess, that's not my question, but my opinion is, yeah, you do, because I used to have to walk that, and if you don't have those stop signs, there's no way to get across the street.
Okay. Another general question applies to both Carolyn and Wes, and perhaps others of you, and that is, would you consider, or are you considering another mill levy request to fund your operations?
It's in the discussion stage.
I'd like to defer that question to our airport manager, Jack. I'm not sure whether as a joint powers board we could work for a mill levy in the budget. We're our funding comes from annual appropriations from both city and county now, but Jack, what do you mean?
You know, I think we're an eligible entity, and I don't know, Jerry, I think we talked about this years ago, trying to get a mill levy, but
We're not eligible per se. We have to try to put it to a vote, and there's too many other things we've got to do.
yeah, I'd have to go in front of the voters, I know that.
Any other thoughts about it? Any other group thinking of a mill levy? I guess you have to be a governmental group anyway. And Jerry Meyer at the back.
I would thought about mill levies. It seems to me that the library is the most eligible candidate. I mean, they're not in the state business of having a mill levy, but to have the voters approve a mill levy, that seems to me to be a logical thing for a mill levy.
Okay. So it's a matter of priorities too, okay. We did have a question, about a notice or a complaint perhaps about the intersection at 30th and Willett. This is near the hospital. It is both a right and a left turn off 30th Street. And the general question that's coming up is control of that intersection. What are your plans? Nancy, I guess that's for you. That's not any part of a state highway.
No, that will come before us when the traffic counts start getting up high enough. I'm gonna let Randy stand up and he's much more informed on this than I am.
The city budget has an item that the staff is requesting. It's up to city council, and that budget discussion will be taking place in May and June, but we do have a request to put in a traffic signal at 30th and Welland. The traffic study has been done, and the warrants are supportive of the need for a signal there. They're not cheap items. They're $250,000 to $300,000, and so there is a budget consideration, and that will be part of the discussion over the next couple of months by city council and ultimately a vote to adopt or not in the budget. But there is a clear consensus from the traffic statistics that a signal at that intersection is warranted. So that is a priority, at least for the staff.
Judy, can I ask him a
Sure.
question? Randy,
Okay.
where are you guys with 22nd and Reynolds?
Same request, same budget, same dollar and cents. If all goes well, both of those will be programmed this coming
Okay,
fiscal
that one at 22nd and Reynolds, at one point there was a budget, there was discussion that Cirrus should maybe kick in some of that. Are we at a place with that budget that that's not gonna happen?
The budget, we don't know yet what the budget support will be. It really goes back to property sales and property
Okay.
funding from Cirrus Sky, and that's still a bit of an unknown, but on the demand side, so to speak, do we need a traffic signal there? We're in the same boat as the item for the 30th well. It's not the same warrant justification, it's a different part of the traffic engineering study, but it is
Okay.
supported. We're asking for that.
And we're still gonna end up with just a stop sign at 30th and Reynolds? There won't be any type of other controlled intersection right there?
The warrants aren't there right now.
Okay.
The same traffic study as 22nd Middle said, keep an eye on that one.
Okay,
So we will be doing that.
okay, thank you.
So there's a good parting shot. Keep an eye on it. And we trust you're doing traffic counts, and you also get accident reports, is that right? That may predicate what you do. I'd like to ask WYDOT, we haven't had any mention of the interchange on Interstate 80 on the east that now dumps onto Grand Avenue. I understand that there was a change proposed and that might fit into the Bill Nye extension. Either of you want to address that? Is it part of your long-range planning?
There's nothing in the STIP right now, which is the 6-year plan to do anything from Grand Avenue.
Did you all hear that? There's nothing in the plan right now. And so, okay. Are there any other general questions from the audience? I've gone through all the questions that were written down. At this point, if there aren't any further questions, oh yeah, you have one.
I've got
Sure.
one. Last month, we had that accident at I-80 and 3rd Street that caused all those semis to just jam up the whole town. Now, this is probably for the traffic after WYDOT. Isn't there an alternate route around Laramie for that? Where they could have taken them off Grand and around Reynolds and down to Curtis?
Actually, off I-80, there is not. I think the route through Laramie is down Grand to 30th to Reynolds on at Curtis.
I know there was no control because, if you're familiar with that, downtown and the whole, you had semis on every street trying to figure out how to get to to get past to Curtis Street.
I think what happened there is that accident was right at the off-ramp. So as soon as that plugged up, that traffic just started.
Microphones, Steve?
The traffic just started going off, and it just took them a long time to, catch all of that traffic that built up from Grand Avenue up to 3rd Street. I mean, all of that had to come off there or just sit there and wait. And by the time you had everybody out there, city police and,
It was already a big knot.
Exactly.
We do have an additional question about the trees on Grand Avenue. Apparently some were cut. Are they going to be replaced? I wasn't aware that you had cut any, but is that true?
Yeah, as part of the current project right now, yeah, we did. There were, I don't remember the number of trees, but it was several trees that were removed. The property owners, University of Wyoming, were compensated for the loss of the trees. So it's really their decision as to what they do with them, whether they replant or pocket the money.
There you go.
Hearing them at all.
And I guess, Corey, this might be for you for the extension of the Grand Avenue project. Is that right? That would be your bailiwick? There would be trees all along Grand Avenue in that portion. Would they have to come down?
At this time, we don't anticipate dealing with anything with trees. On this particular project that we'll be doing is basically upgrading the signalized intersections, the ADA, and the actual signals themselves, replacing curb and gutter along the tree section that's buckling. But it's not going to be near the extensive work that, like I said, is going on with Steve's. Right now, we're looking at milling the whole plant mix down to base and repaving or doing a full depth reclamation, which is what we did on 30th, well, almost 30th to 21st, a few years ago. So that type of project, we're not looking at really doing anything with the trees unless there's issues that could possibly interfere with the ADA ramps as far as getting the proper slopes. And at this point, I don't know. I mean, we don't anticipate taking any down, but there may be some that are just too close on those intersections to be able to get a proper ramp in. So.
Okay.
Will there be, this is for WYDOT, will there be trees in that center section down Grand?
They're actually, in the median section, the standards have changed. For us to put in an obstruction within a median like that, it has to have a crash-worthy curb. So we went into 4 isolated locations and put a 20-inch high crash-worthy curb, and then there'll be trees in those areas.
Okay.
That sounds like a real pedestrian barricade too, is it?
Those locations aren't meant to have pedestrians crossing.
Not.
Not, yeah. They're about, I think they're roughly 90 feet long sections, 4 of them.
Will they be similar to what's in Cheyenne?
The curb, yes. It's the same curb design. The design of the median, the decoration, and the plantings are different.
Okay.
I assume you're talking about East Lincoln Way in Cheyenne, around the Little America? Okay. Okay, any oh, Nancy, you have a question?
This one's for Steve too. When you talked about the new viaduct over Harney Street, and you talked about one bike lane on one side that would be shared with pedestrian, that to me seems to be a real impediment to the biker who is going in the wrong direction and is going to have to get off their bike and walk it across the street two ways to access the bike, and then being riding against the traffic and then getting off again so that they're riding with traffic again on the other side.
Yeah, I might have, I guess, misspoke just a little bit on that. If you read the standard for, I guess, what we consider, and I'm not a bicyclist, so we have some people within WYDOT that are bicyclists, and we had a fairly long discussion about what they consider enough shoulder to ride on. So throughout the length of the project, we call it a 6-foot shoulder, which is supposed to be enough for a bicyclist to feel comfortable on. The only issue with that is 2 foot of that is curb and gutter. So realistically, you end up with 4 feet of shoulder for a bicyclist to ride on. And that's through the length of the project. When you cross the bridge, you really only have a 4-foot shoulder. And with that rail, I'm not sure if that's, if you'll be in that lane or not.
I guess what I'm saying is why aren't they making a wider shoulder that would have enough room for the bikes to go across? I mean, Curtis Street is designed the same way. When you go over the tracks on Curtis Street over to get onto the green belt, and actually the bridge South 15th that goes over the Skyline, they tell you to get off your bike and walk. Is what I think the signage used to say something to that because it wasn't set up for bikes. I mean, we're talking about a bike-friendly community.
I agree. I mean, we've spent a lot of time with this. Project was actually value engineered by a company. I made a lot of recommendations about narrowing everything up. And current thought is, and if you read the basically design standard, that does meet the minimum standard for a bicyclist to use the facility.
So they're saying you could ride on both shoulders.
Yes.
On the new bridge.
Do we?
Well, I don't understand the shoulder thing since cyclists can legally take a lane.
Yeah.
So it seems like a complete non-issue. It shouldn't be signed anything rather than watch out for cyclists because it's the law. So
There won't be any signing associated with that.
Yeah.
It's just what the shoulder is, and if you choose to ride on the shoulder, otherwise you're right. A bicyclist can legally ride in that lane
Yeah.
of travel.
And I had the same question because it seemed like you were trying to merge cyclists onto some sort of sidewalk usage, which would be illegal unless it was a green belt designated section, which then would actually tie into some commuting logic as far as the green belt goes. So I was actually kind of wondering if the green belt had any designation in that area, just in general, with a little knowledge, like personal knowledge. Just wondering.
No, at this time, we won't connect to the green belt. Just on the far west end of the project, the 10-foot path as it ends, the plan is to try to tie that into the green belt, right over kind of in front of the territorial park. Otherwise, it's complete separate path.
So I had a similar question about pedestrian use of new roads and so forth. Who watches out for that interest? I mean, I think bicyclists are recognized now, and I walk around town a lot, and I know there are places where all of a sudden you come to some weird curbs and obstacles, and you can't get from here to there. You know, it's hard to walk to Safeway, for example. It's unpleasant sometimes, even when there is a light. I understand that WYDOT, for example, has as its job vehicular traffic, at least that's what I assume, right? So you guys are good at accommodating all the different scenarios that you anticipate for a roadway. But some of those scenarios involve people trying to walk. Is there any place where that's considered? Is there any official kind of assessment of that in projects? And by assessment, I mean people moving not just along a sidewalk that you would provide on a road, but actual travel from one place to another, and how easy that is. Does anybody have that job? And that's a question for the city too?
Answers?
Well, as far as, WYDOT, the WYDOT is in charge, has the roadway itself.
Yeah.
So we don't have the sidewalks, or, we control the crosswalks, at the controlled intersections, the signalized intersections.
Okay, well, that's
So
what I
yeah, that
expected.
kind of, some of that's out of our hands as far as.
Yeah, actually though, the laws dealing with ADA really dictate that we have to deal with that now. All of Grand Avenue on the new section we're building, I mean, you have to take into account that at the intersections, but you also have to make sure that person can get from block to block and then also cross the facility. You don't have to cross it every block, but you have to do that. So indirectly, it really takes care of pedestrians also.
Randy?
For the city part, timing is a very good one, Robin, because we are in the latter stages of finishing up a draft parks, trails, recreation advisory plan, which should be done this summer and going forward to traffic commission, planning commission, Parks, Tree, Recreation Advisory Board, and then city council. That has both bicycle and pedestrian components, and for our collector and above streets, our more significant streets, it has specific regulatory aspects as to if development or redevelopment happens in those corridors, here's how the design should proceed, and here's some maintenance and operation mechanisms as well. So keep an eye on things, not if you know where to keep an eye on. Look forward to May or June, I believe, as far as public draft.
Thank you.
Randy, in conjunction with that, then there will be public hearings during those periods?
Multiple.
Great.
I'm feeling sorry for Tim, who didn't get any
Gosh,
questions up here. You must be doing really well.
We have
County
bike
road
lanes
and
on every county road.
But and this is probably off the subject, but there was that recent court decision that invalidated the rails to trails section where a private owner wasn't compensated and was given the land back. Does that mean that rail to trail on the old rail bed doesn't exist anymore?
No, it's just in that one, just where,
Can't reach it.
no, I can take this one. Here you go, Judy. Thank you. What is his name? I can't even think of his name. Marvin, yeah. And so anyway, just that one section of 200 feet or however long it is, it's been blocked off from day one. So when you ride down the rails to trails, you get to the highway, then you have to go out and go on the Forest Service Road and then cut back and get on the trails. So, but it does have implications across the country because all other communities that have rails to trails, they thought that they had eminent domain, but they don't, so, or potentially don't.
So that doesn't affect you, Dewey?
I've never worked too much with the rails and the trails. I've never been too too involved in that project, but I was a little disheartened to hear that it may not be going forward. I respect private property rights, and I think it's a great thing, but I also think that the Rails to Trails was a pretty significant way to remove ourselves from traffic and be able to ride in some places that are pretty beautiful in the country. I don't know, it's kind of sad.
But along that whole corridor, it's just a patchwork of different easements that they had, and there was deeded land, there was easements, there were a whole lot of things, and so you could go all along it. When I was first involved with it, when I was still a commissioner way back when, that's what was the issue. And so there was deeded land that had an easement, there was public land, and it's just a hodgepodge of ownership. And so that's why it's through the Forest Service primarily, and that's why that'll stay forever. So that'll be good.
And we could have had the Forest Service here, I expect, today too. I think we'll wrap it up here. I want to end with something shocking that Wes told me before the panel began here tonight, and that is, for old timers like me, the word General Breeze Field has gone away. Is that right?
That was years ago.
I know, but I always called it Breeze Field. What?
Expedia still acknowledges it as Breeze Field. I don't know.
Who does? Wait a minute, Becky. Who does?
Yeah, when you do your reservations and stuff, you have to put in it's Breeze Field. It's not Laramie Airport.
Okay, George and Jack, you got some work to do,
Well,
maybe.
Yeah, the entryway up, going into it is still General Breeze Road.
Yeah.
And the address to most of the things out there is on General Breeze Road, but not the, it's Laramie Regional Airport is the name.
Okay, you gotta work on those websites.
guys.
All right, at this point, you've all been very patient. I want to thank the panel. They're willing to stick around till 9. I think WYDOT has some handouts back there. Somebody else may too. It looks like there's some handouts up here. Are those yours, Carolyn?
Yes.
Do you want to say anything about them?
Brochures, maps.
Okay. And you're welcome to come and speak one-on-one with these folks too. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Judy.